Hi everyone, my name is Paul Dryburgh. I'm currently acting chair of the British Association for Local History. Now, originally from Lincolnshire, where I'm a proper yellow belly, I now live in Brentford, in West London. And you join me here at the confluence of the Thames and the Grand Union Canal, about 135–140 miles from its beginning in Birmingham. Now, during May, a local group, Brentford Boys, have been running a pop-up local history exhibition around the town. And I'm going to take you on a walking tour now to show you some of the highlights and to really congratulate them for their great work in bringing local history to life here. And as acting chair of the association, I know there's really vibrant work going on, really exciting work going on across the country in local history. And this is just one demonstration of that. See you in a minute. One of the things I think people probably know about Brentford, or was most infamous about Brentford, is that it famously has a football ground, or had a football ground, Griffin Park, which had a pub on each corner. And here behind me we can see the Griffin Pub. And it's obviously one of those greater pleasures in life, football and beer, and Brentford has always mixed those very well. In fact, Brentford had several breweries, famously the Beehive Brewery, which is now in the Dock, but also locally we have the Fuller's Brewery, which is still one of the big employers in the area, which is based in Chiswick, just down the road. Now here you find me at Griffin Park. Founded in 1889, Brentford FC first played here in 1904, and they played here until very recently, just for a couple of seasons ago, when they moved to the Brentford Community Stadium, much nearer Chiswick. And this, as I say, is the ground famously where there are four corners. Now, Brentford have always generally played in the lower leagues, but famously, of course, 2 seasons ago, they were promoted to the Premier League, and under Thomas Frank's brilliant management, they've managed to stay in the Premier League this season successfully, and are hopefully going to build to a couple of years of being, West London's best club. We can hope, at least. Sport, of course, is one of those really important markers of local identity and building community, but there are more important things to life, arguably. He lied. Now, behind me, you can see the London Museum of Water and Steam. This was formerly the Kew Bridge Waterworks, and it was one of the biggest pumping stations in London, and in the Victorian London, at a time when sanitation and building the great city that London became was one of the key drivers of the local economy in Brentford. Now, not everything, of course, is industry, and Brentford has a long, storied history, which we'll explore in my next little clip. Well, many visitors today wouldn't really understand or appreciate Brentford's long history, particularly those who are visiting the county court here, Brentford being one of the county courts of Middlesex. Now, of course, Brentford, historically, the place name means literally the ford over the River Brent, and the River Brent is a tributary that flows into the Thames here, about 10–12 miles west of London. But Brentford, of course, actually has a really long history, and behind me, as I turn around, we have this curiously shaped totem, which is sort of a late Victorian monument to Brentford's history. And it tells us that there was an ancient battle fought here between a Roman tribe and Julius Caesar. And then in the 17th century, there was also a really important civil war battle, the Battle of Brentford, where the Royalist army under Charles I was turned back from reaching London by parliamentarian forces, and Charles in 1642 was never able to reach the city and take the city for himself again. Despite being under Heathrow's flight path and next to the M4, Brentford does have some really large areas of tranquility and peace that you can find quite easily. So behind me you can see Cyan House, which is the London residence of the Dukes of Northumberland. There's been a residence on this site since the 16th century, but the site behind me you can see is one of London's finest houses, the interior is designed by Robert Adam, and the gardens, the 200-acre gardens, landscaped by Lancelot Capability Brown. Now, the actual site stands somewhere close to Cyan Abbey, which was founded by Henry V in 1415, and it was of the unusual Bridgertine order, where it was a mixed house of both men and women, monks and nuns, under the rule of an abbess. Now, although it survived to the Reformation, the community then was dispersed across Europe for various centuries, but then eventually came back to England in the 20th century, and until very recently were based in Devon. The archives you can actually find in the special collections at the University of Exeter, so do check that out. Well, as you can imagine, doing all this walking makes one thirsty. Fortunately, Brentford, we're really well served for pubs. And I'm standing outside the Six Bells on the High Street, named for the Six Bells of St Lawrence's Parish Church behind us. Also, you can see on this plaque here, a poem written in 1948, which shows the 50 pubs that were available for drinkers on Brentford High Street in around 1900. If only there were 50 pubs here still today. Now for my final stop, you find me outside my local pub, where else, which is the Brewery Tap, here in Brentford Dock. Built in around 1870 and raised above the river level, this has been a pub here for about 150 years. Originally it was a tap room for the tap house for the Beehive Brewery, but of course most recently it's become a Fuller's pub. Now I've just given you the highlights of this little walking tour of Brentford. You can see more of the yellow lights behind me. Inevitably I've missed out some other highlights, Sky TV, the Hoover Building. But I really wanted to talk to you really about the vibrancy of local history in the area and also across the country. Our team here at Brentford Voice, as you can see, getting a lot of local interest, are really doing some great things for public local history. If you know anybody else who works in this way, or you'd like to reward or acknowledge their achievements and contribution to local history, please get in contact with us and nominate them for an Outstanding Individual Achievement Award. You can do this basically from July this year, and we'd love to hear from you. Hope you've enjoyed this tour. See you again soon. Thanks. If you've enjoyed this little walking tour, but think, I could do better than that, why not send us your local history walk, local history tour? Send it to digitalteam@balh.org.uk. It doesn't have to be polished, as you can see from my effort. It doesn't have to be perfect. All we ask is that you record it on your phone or mobile device or another camera, and you take images in the landscape format. We really look forward to seeing them and to sharing them on our social media and on our website. Thanks.